What Ozzy Osbourne did for a Hells Angels member's baby shocked everyone. Picture this. Los Angeles, February 2018. Cold wind crawls across the hospital courtyard, rattling flags and freezing breath in the air. Nurses rush, machines beep, and the smell of sterilized floors clings to everything. And there he is. Ozzy Osbourne. Black coat, black jeans, baseball cap low over tired eyes, and in his hand a tiny pink teddy bear. Nurses whisper, stunned. Is that Ozzy Osbourne? What's he doing here? Why is he in the NICU wing? He doesn't look like a rock god today. He looks like a man walking into battle, not screaming at 60,000 fans, but stepping into a silent war fought by tiny hearts and tired parents. He pauses outside the neonatal ICU doors. He takes a breath. He whispers to himself, "Hang in there, little princess," because he's not here for a photo or publicity or nostalgia. He is here to save a life, the life of a 2-month-old girl named Emma, daughter of a Hells Angels brother called Bulldog, a baby whose heart is too small to survive. And nobody in this hospital knows that the Prince of Darkness and the man who once bit a bat on stage is about to become the guardian angel of the smallest fighter in Los Angeles. Before we begin, if stories like this touch your heart, if you believe legends are real, subscribe to Voices of Darkness and like this video. Your support gives life to stories that remind us humanity still exists. Let's continue. Chapter 1. The Call That Broke the Silence 2 weeks earlier, Sherman Oaks. Sunlight streams through tall windows. Sharon is reading. Ozzy is stirring his morning coffee lazily, the quiet peace of a normal morning settling around them. Then, phone rings. Caller ID. Tank, one of the old Oakland brothers. A man Ozzy respects. Ozzy answers casually, "Tank, mate. Long time. What's cracking?" But Tank's voice isn't the usual rough biker thunder. It trembles. "Ozzy, I need to tell you something." Ozzy frowns. This man survived bar fights, prison riots, and road wars. He does not crack. It's Bulldog.
And his baby, Emma. Ozzy freezes mid-breath. Tank continues, voice small, broken. She was born with hypoplastic left heart syndrome.
Doctors say she needs 3 surgeries. First one right away. Sharon looks up. She sees Ozzy's face change. The old wound opening, the memory he never escaped. Hospital rooms, chemo, fear, Sharon fighting cancer. "How's Bulldog holding up?" Ozzy asks quietly. Tank exhales, voice heavy. He hasn't slept in days. He's sitting beside her crib, just staring. That big man looks like he's dying inside Oz. Insurance won't cover it. First surgery alone cost $300,000. Silence, the kind that weighs on souls. Ozzy stands, jaw tight, eyes burning with that strange mix of rage and love only a man who's almost lost everything can know. "Tank, listen to me carefully. I'll pay for it." Tank gasps. "Ozzy, $600,000 for all surgeries." Ozzy cuts him, voice steel. "Then I'll pay for all 3. End of story." Sharon touches his hand, tears in her eyes. She remembers his helplessness beside her hospital bed and knows this is not charity. It is redemption. "This isn't money," she whispers. "This is life." Ozzy calls his accountant. "Linda, transfer $300,000 today. Children's Hospital, Los Angeles. For Emma Rodriguez." He hangs up and turns to Sharon. "We're going there. I need to see Bulldog." Sharon nods. "Then we go together. And we bring gifts for the little warrior." Beverly Hills toy store fans stare in disbelief. Ozzy Osbourne buying baby toys? He chooses gentle things, soft things, a piano toy, a warm blanket, the pink teddy bear. The manager approaches. "Mr. Osbourne, may I ask who the lucky little girl is?" Ozzy smiles softly. "A princess who's fighting bigger battles than any of us ever have." Sharon squeezes his arm, and for the first time in years, Ozzy feels something warm pushing against that old darkness. Hope. The hospital feels colder than outside. White lights, distant beeps, disinfectant smell. The battlefield of tiny warriors. Bulldog sits there, giant hands gently touching a tiny hand. Jessica sits opposite him, exhausted, praying silently. A nurse whispers, "Mr. Osbourne." They're inside. Ozzy walks in quietly. Bulldog looks up, sees the legend, freezes. "Ozzy, what are you doing here?" Ozzy's voice is soft, fatherly. "Came to meet this little princess." Jessica wipes her tears. "Thank you for coming. It means so much." Ozzy looks at Emma, tubes, machines, tiny breaths. and his heart breaks. She's a fighter. I can see it. Bulldog tries to stand, but emotion crushes him. Ozzy places the teddy bear beside Emma and whispers, "You're not fighting alone, sweetheart." Then he turns to Bulldog. "Tank told me everything. I'm paying for her surgeries, all of them." Bulldog falls to his knees, sobbing, massive body shaking. "Ozzy, I can't repay." Ozzy squeezes his shoulder. "This isn't a loan. This is love." Jessica breaks, hugging her baby and sobbing. Ozzy whispers, "When Sharon was sick, I knew hell. Nobody should face it alone." A doctor enters. "Mr. Osbourne? You're here for Emma?" Ozzy turns. "Doctor, money isn't a problem anymore. Start whenever you're ready." Doctor breathes in, stunned. "We begin tomorrow." Bulldog hugs Ozzy so tight the legend laughs. "Easy, mate. You'll break me before the cancer did." Everyone laughs through tears, even the nurses smile. A rock icon has just become a guardian angel. Before we go, if this story touched your heart, subscribe to Voices of Darkness and help us reach 1,000 subscribers. If you love Ozzy, Hell's Angels loyalty, and real miracles, share this story. Prove your love. Dawn scraped a pale line across Los Angeles when Ozzy and Sharon stepped out of the car, coffee steam ghosting into the February air. The hospital looked different today, quieter, like it knew a verdict would be written inside its walls. The Hell's Angels had arrived before sunrise. Tank, Snake, Razor, Ghost. Leathers creaking, eyes red, hands stuffed in pockets because no one knew where else to put them. Bulldog stood apart, sleeves pushed up, jaw working like he was chewing on thunder. Jessica clutched a folded blanket to her chest, the soft pink one Ozzy had brought like a shield. "Morning," Ozzy said, voice low. Bulldog nodded. He looked like a mountain that had learned how to tremble. "They're prepping her." Sharon moved to Jessica and wrapped her in a hug that said more than any sentence. "You don't have to be strong right now," she whispered. "You just have to be here." A nurse with gentle eyes and a badge that read El Torres appeared at the doorway. "They're ready for Mom and Dad. Quick kiss before we roll." Bulldog blinked. "Just like that?" "Just like that," the nurse said softly. "It's how we steal fear's time." They went in as a pair, Bulldog and Jessica, hands laced. Ozzy lingered back, feeling that old, unwanted echo, the sound of a gurney's wheels and the way a goodbye can feel like the edge of a cliff. Tank stepped close. "You good?" Ozzy nodded, then shook his head. "I wish it were me on that table," Tank snorted. "She's 2 months old, brother. She's tougher than both of us." When the doors flapped open again, Jessica was crying, the silent kind that happens when the body doesn't have sound left. Bulldog pressed his forehead to the door for one long breath, then backed away like he'd just handed his heart to a stranger and had to trust they'd return it. Nurse Torres spoke gently. 4 hours is our target. Dr. Collins will send updates." 4 hours, Bulldog repeated, as if time could be kept obedient with repetition. They drifted to the waiting room, a purgatory of vinyl chairs and outdated magazines that nobody ever reads, where hope and dread sit side by side like awkward relatives. Ozzy bought coffee for everyone, then sat with his untouched cup cooling between his palms. Sharon leaned into him. "Talk to them," she murmured. "Stories change rooms." He stood, cleared his throat. The brothers looked up, surprised to see a stage without a spotlight. "So," he started, "first time I waited like this, I tried to quit sugar, cigarettes, and swearing all at once." A few smiles cracked. 15 minutes later, I was swearing at a vending machine for stealing my sugar while I smoked outside. Even Bulldog's mouth twitched. The room exhaled. Ozzy kept going. He told them about hospital jelly cups and how he once ate 8 because Sharon couldn't eat, and it felt wrong to let them go to waste. He told them about the night shift nurse who wore neon sneakers and swore by Motown, and how he'd learned every lyric from every song just to have something to sing at 3 a.m., so the silence didn't swallow him. And you know what Sharon said when she woke up after one of the long ones? Ozzy asked, glancing at his wife. Sharon raised a brow, amused. "Don't," he grinned. She said, "Oz, you look fatter than when I went in." Laughter landed soft and grateful. The room warmed a degree. Time did what time does in hospitals. It stretched, snapped, and pooled. Tank paced trenches into the linoleum. Snake pretended to read. Jessica traced circles on her coffee cup with a fingertip. as if she could draw a halo into being. Bulldog stared at the door like he could pull it open by will alone. Ozzy sat beside him. You named her Emma, why? Bulldog swallowed. My mum's favorite book, Emma, said the name sounded like sunlight. Sunlight's a good thing to name a fighter after, Ozzy said. Bulldog's voice broke. I don't know how to be a dad yet. None of us do, Ozzy said. We learn by staying. The intercom chimed once, an innocuous little bell that still made every heart lift 6 inches. Nurse Torres appeared with an update card and a smile that tried not to overpromise. Bypass established. First phase is going smoothly. Vitals stable. Jessica sobbed into Sharon's shoulder. Bulldog closed his eyes, whispering something that might have been a prayer or a promise or the name of every street he'd ever ridden. When Nurse Torres left, the room hushed again. Tank cleared his throat. You know the code, he said, addressing the brothers. When a brother's family fights, we fight. He opened a worn leather pouch and spilled patch pins onto the table. Tiny steel feathers, skulls, a single wing with a red stone. He slid the feather toward Ozzy. Ozzy blinked. You sure? Tank's stare was steady. You showed up. That's the only membership test that matters. Ozzy picked up the feather. For a second he saw not a pin but a ledger. Every night he hadn't known what to do, every time he'd wished someone would say stay when the darkness came. The feather felt like a verdict overturned. Thank you, he said, voice quiet. Hours drip, stories fade. A fluorescent buzz becomes a hymn. Sharon dozes on Jessica's shoulder. Men enormous enough to frighten bouncers sit small and careful, afraid to disturb an invisible balance. Then the door cracks open and Dr. Collins steps in, cap indenting her hair, eyes alert. The room jerks upright. Bulldog is already moving. Doc? She holds up a hand, not to stop him but to steady the moment. First phase complete. The reconstruction went well. We're weaning from bypass now. Jessica covers her mouth. Bulldog sags as if his bones finally remember gravity. Dr. Collins softens. Her heart is learning its new job. Learning, Ozzy repeats, liking the word. Not fixed. Not broken. Learning. Another hour, the doctor says and slips out. They endure the last hour by counting breaths. 20 in, 20 out. Tank leads them like an offbeat choir. In 2-3, out 2-3. Razor starts crying as quiet as rain. Nobody mentions it. Brotherhood is loud on the road and gentle in hospital rooms. When Dr. Collins returns, she smiles in a way that erases 10 years from every face. Surgery successful. Jessica collapses into Sharon's arms. Bulldog's knees hit the floor and he laughs while he cries, a sound like a stalled engine that finally roars alive. How is she? He asks. Proud, Dr. Collins says. If hearts can be proud. She's strong. Vitals are beautiful. The room explodes in relief. Tank slaps the wall and kisses his knuckles. Snake Bear hugs Razor hard enough to pop vertebrae. Ozzy just leans back and stares at the ceiling, eyes burning. A quiet thank you slipping between his teeth that isn't addressed to anyone and somehow to everyone. When can we see her? Jessica asks, voice small and bright with hope. In an hour, Dr. Collins says. She'll be in recovery. One at a time. Bulldog grips Ozzy's shoulder, fingers digging in. Brother. Ozzy shakes his head. Save it for her. She's the one who did the hard part. He picks up the pink teddy bear from the chair beside him and squeezes it once, the way a man tests a guitar string before the song starts. Soon, he murmurs to the bear, to himself, to the universe. We'll put this in her hands. Outside the window, the morning finally looks like morning. The sun clears the hospital roofline and slips a coin of gold across the waiting room floor. It lands between Bulldog's boots and Jessica's shoes, a small, bright promise that wasn't there an hour ago. For the first time since dawn, everyone breathes like they remember how. The war is not over. But today, the first battle is won. 1 hour later, the hallway outside the recovery unit smelled like soft disinfectant and new beginning. Light filtered in through tall windows, turning the sterile white walls into quiet gold. Nurses walked with softer steps like they could feel the sacredness hanging in the air. Bulldog stood at the glass, palms pressed against it, breathing like a man who'd been underwater too long and finally surfaced. Jessica's fingers trembled around the blanket she held. Her entire world was stitched inside that fabric. Every fear, every prayer, every beat she begged the universe to protect, and then the door opened. Nurse Torres appeared again, this time smiling wider, holding a tiny clipboard with pink tape wrapped around the top. She's stable, breathing beautifully. You can see her now, one at a time. It didn't matter how big Bulldog was or how many miles of road he'd bled into. In that moment, he was just a father scared to step into a room that might break him with love. Jessica touched his arm. Go, she needs her dad first. Bulldog swallowed hard, nodded, and stepped inside. Inside the recovery room, the room hummed with gentle machines. Emma lay bundled like the smallest fighter ever born. Eyes closed, chest rising steady and not struggling now, not fighting for air one gasp at a time. Breathing like a child dreaming instead of surviving. Bulldog approached slowly, hands shaking so much he looked like a mountain in an earthquake. He whispered, voice cracked, "Hey, baby girl. Daddy's here." Her tiny fingers moved. Not much, just a flex, a hello from the universe. Bulldog's breath broke. Tears rolled down his cheeks, falling on the crib rail like melted armor. He pressed his forehead gently to her blanket. You did it, little warrior. You did it. Jessica stood behind him now, tears falling without sound, as if she didn't want to disturb the peace her daughter earned. She placed her hand on Bulldog's back, grounding him to the earth so he wouldn't float away in relief. Emma shifted slightly, a soft coo catching in her throat before settling again. Bulldog laughed through tears. Hear that? Already complaining like your mama, Jessica sniffed. Yeah, and who taught her that stubborn streak? Bulldog turned, smiled with swollen eyes. Her uncle Ozzy. Ozzy steps and Ozzy stood in the doorway, cap low, his hands stuffed in his jacket pockets. He waited, not wanting to intrude on a miracle in progress. Bulldog waved him forward. Come meet her again. Ozzy approached like he was approaching a stage in front of 100,000 fans. Slow, reverent, knowing once he stepped closer nothing would ever feel the same again. He leaned in, gazed at the tiny chest rising and falling like a promise to the world. Sharon joined quietly, her face soft and shining with tears she didn't bother to hide. Ozzy whispered, Hello, princess. Told you you'd make it. Emma opened her eyes, only a flutter more, but that was enough. Ozzy froze, breath catching. There she is. Warrior girl. Nurse Torres smiled. She recognized a voice she heard a lot yesterday. Bulldog snorted. She heard all your stories. Might be a metalhead now. Ozzy laughed under his breath. Good. Saves her from bad music later. Jessica placed the pink teddy bear beside Emma, tucking its paw under the baby's hand. It fit perfectly, like the bear had been waiting for this exact moment. A promise made in quiet rooms. Tank, Snake, Razor, Ghost all waited in silence outside, helmets tucked under arms. Rough men made small by hope. Bulldog turned to Ozzy and Tank. When she grows up, I'll tell her everything, that her uncles fought for her, and that a man she barely knew walked into her life and chose her. Ozzy shook his head gently. Don't tell her about me. Tell her she did it. Tell her she was born with fire. Sharon smiled. And tell her love did the rest. Bulldog wiped his eyes again, embarrassed. Brothers don't cry this much. Tank clapped his back. Brotherhood ain't about not crying. It's about who stands beside you when you do. Ozzy stared at the tiny baby, feeling something inside him open. The same place that had been scorched by years of chaos and noise and battles he fought alone. This baby had fought with a heart still learning how to beat, and somehow she taught him how to breathe. Easier. The oath raiser stepped in, clearing his throat like he was about to recite scripture. This girl, she's not just Bulldog's daughter. She's ours. Our club's, she's family. We ride for her. We protect her. Always. Everyone nodded. Then Tank placed a small silver wing necklace beside Emma, a tiny biker wing, polished smooth by years of pride. Every angel needs her wings. Emma's tiny fingers curled around the edge of the wing charm, and Ozzy felt it again, that spiritual punch in the chest. This wasn't just survival. It was destiny, a baby who would grow, live, dream, because love refused to surrender. Hospital corridor. A new beginning, Sharon whispered to Ozzy as they walked out. Why are miracles always so small at first? Ozzy exhaled, so we don't scream before we understand them. Outside, The sun had risen fully now, golden and warm. Like the world. Finally noticed a little heart beating, stronger. Motorcycles glinted in the parking lot. Pink teddy bear guarded a miracle in a crib. Upstairs, and Ozzy Osbourne and the Prince of Darkness walked out, feeling lighter than he had in decades because today, darkness didn't win, love did. If you love Ozzy, if you honor loyalty and love, share the story, like it. Subscribe to Voices of Darkness. Let's hit 1,000 subscribers and prove that the world still believes in miracles and brotherhood. Evening fell like a slow curtain across Los Angeles, turning the children's hospital windows into mirrors reflecting city lights and quiet prayers. Inside the recovery room, Emma slept peacefully beneath soft beeps and warm blankets. Her breaths, tiny, steady, sounded like the universe learning to breathe again. Outside, a new sound gathered, low, deep, reverent. Motorcycle engines, idling like hearts refusing to rest. 1 Harley. Then 3. Then 7. Then 11. The Hells Angels didn't come to make noise. They came to stand guard. Hospital entrance. Brotherhood on watch. A security guard approached, nervous at the sight of patched leather and chrome lined like steel wolves. Tank raised his hands calmly. No trouble. We're here for our brothers, kid. We stay outside. Just watching, respectfully. The guard hesitated, then nodded. All right, just stay clear of the ambulance path. Razor smirked.
Brother, we ain't trying to get run over.
We got a princess to protect, the guard exhaled, then unexpectedly smiled. I'll bring you coffee later. Bulldog sat on the curb, elbows on his knees, staring at the glowing hospital sign like it was the only light he trusted. The other bikers settled around him, not talking much. Brotherhood didn't need words when hearts were full. Snake lit a candle and set it beside his boot. Razor placed his helmet down next to it like a knight laying down his weapon outside a cathedral. Ghost whispered, "Road's long, but she's riding it." Bulldog nodded, voice raw. "She's fighting with a better heart than any of us," Tank grinned. "She's gonna outrun all of us someday." Inside, Ozzy's quiet vigil. Ozzy didn't go home. He stayed in a small family waiting room upstairs, elbows on a small table, hands folded like a man saying silent prayers to ghosts he once knew too well. Sharon returned with warm cups and a blanket. "You could sleep, you know," she whispered. Ozzy stared at the floor, voice low. "I remember what it felt like. The waiting, the fear. I can't go home. Not while she's here." Sharon brushed a hand across his back. "No one asked you to go home." "Yeah," he breathed, eyes glistening. "But I owe fate this vigil." Sharon sat beside him and rested her head on his shoulder. "Then we'll wait with her." Inside the glass, the pink teddy bear sat by Emma's side like a tiny guardian soldier. A song for the warrior midnight. The hospital quieted. Machines hummed, nurses whispered. City sirens faded into winter air. Ozzy stood, walked to the NICU window, and placed his palm against the glass. Inside, little Emma's chest rose and fell, each lift a victory, each drop a blessing. Ozzy spoke softly, voice barely audible. "You keep breathing, princess. That's all you gotta do. Just breathe." His voice cracked. His eyes burned, and then something instinctive overtook him. Something that wasn't for the world, wasn't for records, wasn't for fame, it was just for her. Ozzy hummed, soft, fragile. A lullaby no one had ever heard before. A hum that turned into words. "Little heart, beat for tomorrow. Little wings, learn how to fly. You're stronger than the world knows. Little angel, don't you cry." Sharon watched from the doorway, tears sliding silently. Nurse Torres heard too, and paused, hand on her chest. She had seen dozens of surgeries, countless parents, endless prayers, but nothing like this. A rock legend singing a child back into life. Not for a stage, not for applause, for love. Outside, steel angels in the night tank looked at the hospital windows. Razor whispered, "He's still up there?" Tank nodded. "That man ain't leaving till she smiles at him." Bulldog swallowed hard. "I didn't deserve this kind of faith." Tank shook his head. "Faith ain't about deserving. It's about family," Razor added with a half smile. "Besides, you beat that guy in arm wrestling last year. You earned it." Bulldog choked a laugh through exhaustion. Engines rumbled low like hearts sinking with a breathing rhythm inside those walls. Every biker stayed. Every engine stayed warm. Every light stayed ready to chase shadows away. They were an army, but tonight they were guardians. Not of a territory. Not of reputation. Of one tiny heart learning to beat. Emma's first smile just before dawn, that mystical hour when the world forgets night but hasn't yet remembered light. Emma stirred. Her eyelid fluttered, her fingers stretched, her lips curled, just slightly, into something new. A smile, barely there, but pure. Jessica gasped. "Bulldog," she smiled. Bulldog sprinted to the glass, pressed his forehead to it, tears spilling like the first rain on desert sand. Ozzy froze mid-step. Emotion slammed into him like thunder. Sharon whispered, "There it is. The miracle." And it was, not loud, not cinematic, not lightning or fireworks, just a baby's first smile after beating death, the kind of smile that rewrites lives. Bulldog whispered, "My girl. My little warrior." Outside, engines rumbled once, involuntary, united, spiritual, a chorus of steel responding to a tiny heartbeat. Ghost stood staring upward. "That ain't just a smile. That's a destiny," Tank nodded slowly. "And the world ain't ready for her." Razor grinned. "She just proved she's one of us." Bulldog pressed his hand to the glass. Ozzy whispered through a cracked voice, "Welcome back to the world, Princess." Fade out of the night. The sun broke across the hospital at last, light stretching like hope across the streets. Exhausted nurses exhaled. The angels stood tall. Ozzy squeezed Sharon's hand. Emma slept again, peaceful. Victorious, the teddy bear waited faithfully. And the engines, on a silent now, held reverence like prayer bells. Because this wasn't just survival. This was the rebirth of a future. One tiny heart at a time. And remember, if this story moved your heart, subscribe to Voices of Darkness, warn, like, and share. We are building a 1,000 subscriber army of hearts, loyalty, and real stories. Morning rolled over Los Angeles like a soft whisper, warm and forgiving. The first rays of sunlight streaked through the hospital glass, landing on Emma's crib as if heaven itself wanted to tuck her in. Outside, the roar of V-twins began to fade. One by one, bikes that had stood through the night rumbled alive, engines bowing in respect before rolling out, slow and ceremonial. They didn't leave because the fight was over. They left because the day had arrived, and the night had been won. But Tank, Razor, Snake, Coastum, and Bulldog, and stayed in Ozzy, too. Because some victories deserve witnesses until the very last breath of fear is gone. Hospital Cafe. Breakfast of the broken and blessed. The hospital cafeteria smelled of burnt toast, cheap bacon, and survival. Ozzy walked in with Bulldog at his side, both men exhausted, both men carrying the heavy quiet that only sleepless nights and answered prayers can create. Sharon held 2 trays. "I got the good stuff," she joked softly, raising a cup. "Hospital coffee?" Ozzy muttered, smiling. The taste of despair. Bulldog chuckled, really chuckled, for the first time since Emma was born. His voice wasn't hollow anymore. It sounded like a man remembering he was alive. Tank joined with a plate stacked like a linebacker's breakfast feast. "I figured if Emma's fighting, then we gotta be strong too." Razor raised an eyebrow. "So the pancakes are for strength?" "Brother, everything here is for strength." Snake sat down, rubbing his eyes like he'd wrestled ghosts all night. "Doctor said she smiled?" Bulldog nodded, chest swelling. "Little one's already mocking us with how strong she is." Ghost smirked. "She's smarter than you already." Everyone laughed. Even the cafeteria worker behind the counter smiled, overhearing. A TV in the corner quietly played morning news. No one paid attention, until a soft nurse voice approached. "Excuse me." They turned. It was Nurse Torres. Her eyes were warm, tired, and full of that special kind of hope that nurses are born with. I wanted to say, "Emma's doing beautifully." And? She hesitated, shy, then added, "She reacts when she hears your voice, Mr. Osbourne." Ozzy blinked. "Mine?" The nurse nodded. "Yes, her heart rate actually stabilizes when she hears you talk." Razor grinned. Uncle Ozzy, the baby whisperer. Ozzy rubbed the back of his neck, embarrassed but moved. "Well, she has good taste." Sharon squeezed his hand. She knows who stood for her. Bulldog placed a hand on Ozzy's shoulder, strong and grateful. Brother, you are family now. Not by patch, by life, Tank nodded solemnly. And by heart, Ghost added. Once she's older, we're getting her a tiny leather vest. Razor snorted. Already ordered it. Everyone burst into laughter again. It felt like the world was thawing. A quiet corner. Two fathers. Talk later, Bulldog and Ozzy stepped into a small hallway near the chapel. Sunlight spilled across the tile like warm gold blessings. Bulldog cleared his throat. I need to say this properly. Ozzy turned, listening. You didn't have to do what you did. Most men would have sent prayers and walked away. But you showed up. You stayed. You stood with us when we were drowning. His voice cracked. You saved my girl. There ain't a bigger thing a man can do. Ozzy's eyes softened. Listen to me, Bulldog. I didn't save her. She saved me. Bulldog frowned gently. What do you mean? Ozzy inhaled, steady and raw. Sometimes the world forgets who you are. Fame, noise, mistakes, headlines. They drown the real parts of you. But that little girl, she reminded me I still have something good left inside. She gave me a chance to show love where it mattered. Ozzy's voice dropped to a whisper. That's what fathers do. We show up, we stand. We fight. Bulldog wiped his face. Then we're the same kind of men, brother. Ozzy nodded quietly. Yeah, we are. Two men, worlds apart, now connected by one tiny heartbeat. Nurse Torres returns. She approached softly. Bulldog, Jessica. Emma's awake. She's calm. She's beautiful right now. You can see her again. Jessica's breath caught. Can Ozzy come too? Nurse Torres smiled. I think she'd prefer it. Sharon squeezed Ozzy's hand. Go. He nodded, swallowed, and walked back toward the recovery room, each step heavy with gratitude and fear and love. Bulldog and Jessica followed. The hallway lights glowed brighter. The world felt new again, Emma's eyes tiny, bright, a universe inside. She blinked at them, awake, aware, safe. Bulldog whispered, There she is. By miracle. Ozzy stood at her left side, Jessica at the right, Bulldog leaning in. And then it happened. Emma lifted her tiny hand and placed it gently against the glass of her crib, right where Ozzy's hand rested, a perfect fit, a moment only life's hardest battles can earn. Ozzy whispered, You're gonna change the world. Princess. Emma blinked, not weakly, not fading, but strong, curious, stubborn, like she agreed. The angel patch ceremony Tank entered quietly and placed something on Emma's blanket, a silver, Hell's Angel's wing pendant. Small, sacred. A symbol reserved only for loyalty earned through blood, brotherhood, or miracles. Tank spoke solemnly. By the code of the angels, you, Emma Rodriguez, are one of us, our littlest rider, our purest heart, our miracle. Bulldog choked. Jessica covered her mouth. Ozzy looked away for a second just to steady himself. Ghost added, You made grown devils cry. You earned heaven and earth today. Razor wiped his eyes, muttering, Shit, allergies are hitting again. Tank grinned. In February? Noisy hospitals cause allergies. Razor shot back. Everyone quietly laughed, wiping tears. Emma stared up, holding the wing charm in her tiny fist like she'd been born knowing loyalty. And in that moment, a biker angel was born. Outside. The first breath of freedom. Later that afternoon, Bulldog wheeled Jessica outside for a moment of fresh air. Ozzy followed. Sharon joined. Tank and the others leaned against their bikes, waiting proudly. Sunshine fell like blessings. Bulldog inhaled deeply, air finally filling lungs without pain. Jessica whispered, I forgot what outside feels like. Ozzy looked at the sky. Feels like a new life. Razor revved his engine softly, not loud, not harsh, but gentle. A heartbeat tribute. The rumble spread down the line of bikes like a prayer carried on thunder. Then silence again, not emptiness, sacred peace. And there, between sky and asphalt, a promise was born. Emma would live. She would grow. She would run. She would laugh. She would fight. And one day, she would know that the world once held its breath for her tiny heart. and that the toughest men alive stood guard like knights of iron and leather. Ozzy whispered, "This is just the beginning." Sharon nodded. "She's going to conquer life, and Bulldog." He just stared at the doors, voice trembling with love. "My daughter, my angel, my Emma." If you feel this story, subscribe to Voices of Darkness. Share with someone who needs hope. We're building the first 1,000 believers in loyalty, love, and biker souls. Prove your love. The hospital doors slid open with a soft hiss, and morning sunlight spilled across polished floors. Jessica sat in a wheelchair holding Emma, who wore a tiny pink hat and clutched her teddy bear like it was a battle trophy. Bulldog pushed the chair, but his hands trembled so much that Tank placed a steady palm over his. "Easy, brother. Warriors deserve royal exits, not shaky ones." Bulldog exhaled and nodded. His eyes were still swollen from sleepless nights, but now they held something new, a fire lit by relief and rebirth. Outside, chrome glimmered. Leather jackets lined the walkway. The Hells Angels stood tall, not as outlaws today, not as legends, but as uncles guarding the smallest member of their tribe. When those automatic doors opened wide, every biker lowered his head. And engines rumbled just once in a soft salute, like thunder bowing to sunlight. Emma blinked at the world, tiny chest rising with confident breaths. Ghost whispered, voice cracking, "Look at her." Bossing oxygen like it owes her money. Razor sniffed. "Born with fight in her blood." Tank stepped forward, arms folded like a king honoring a princess. "Welcome home, baby angel." Sharon wrapped her coat tighter around herself, as if warmth wasn't enough to hold all the emotion inside her. Ozzy stood beside Bulldog and whispered, almost in awe, "She's leaving the battlefield." Bulldog replied with a proud, broken smile, "And she's winning, a drive with hope riding shotgun." The SUV rolled forward slowly. Jessica sat in the back seat, Emma in her little carrier beside her, gently touching her tiny bear. Sharon sat behind Ozzy, talking softly to Jessica. "You did something extraordinary. Not just survive, you stayed kind." Jessica wiped her eyes. "I never thought life could hurt this much." Sharon smiled, gentle and steady. "That's how you know it's real." Ozzy drove like the road was holy, slow, careful, eyes focused but heart overflowing. Meanwhile, Bulldog followed on his Harley, not roaring the engine today, just cruising reverent. Behind him rolled Tank, Snake, Razor, Ghost, the silent convoy escorting a miracle home. People on sidewalks stared, some clapped. A few men nodded, understanding the gravity. Nobody in that moment saw bikers or rock star. They saw family, protection, love in steel form. At home, a nursery, reborn Emma's nursery, glowed in soft peach lighting. Stuffed animals lined the crib, and above it hung a sign carefully stenciled by Bulldog in crayon black letters. Emma, warrior, daughter, miracle. Jessica laid Emma gently in her crib. The baby moved, blinked, then smiled, and a real smile this time. Not tiny, not weak. A bright, warm, alive smile. Bulldog froze. His breath hitched. His vision blurred. She smiled again. Jessica nodded, tears glimmering. She knows she's home. Ozzy lowered himself into the rocking chair, quietly, almost shyly. He held one knee with both hands, as if grounding himself in the moment. "Can I sing for her?" Jessica's voice cracked. "Please do." Ozzy began humming. Not Dreamer, not any famous song. Something new, built from peace instead of pain. Whisper soft and warm like dawn crawling over mountains. Little heart, you beat with fire. Little eyes, you see the stars. Rest now, fighter. You're safe in our arms. Emma's eyes fluttered. Her breath slowed. She drifted into sleep. Peaceful, gentle, strong. Sharon's tears fell silently. Jessica gripped the crib rail like if she let go, her soul would break loose from gratitude. Bulldog whispered to Ozzy, "I will never be able to return what you gave us." Ozzy shook his head gently. "You already did," Bulldog frowned. "How?" Ozzy stared at the sleeping baby, voice trembling. "You reminded me that love isn't just in songs and stages. It's in tiny breaths and open hands." Sharon kissed his temple. "You gave someone life, Oz. That's bigger than music." A visit to the clubhouse. A kingdom waiting hours later, Bulldog insisted. We gotta take her to the clubhouse. Not inside, just outside. They need to see she's safe. Jessica hesitated, but Emma slept peacefully. And the idea wasn't about pride, and it was about gratitude. So they drove. And when they arrived, the entire Oakland chapter stood in a line outside, jackets crisp, boots planted, heads bowed. Not one man moved, not one man blinked, until Bulldog stepped forward holding the car seat. Tank swallowed hard, voice barely steady. Let us see her. Bulldog lowered the cover just enough for them to peek. Emma slept, cheeks rosy, chest steady, tiny fist curled around her wing charm. Razor whispered, That's the strongest girl I've ever met, Ghost muttered, stronger than all of us combined. Then, something sacred happened. Tank removed his sunglasses, placed his right fist over his heart, then tapped his forehead, the universal biker sign of eternal respect. One by one, every Hell's Angel did the same. Bulldog nearly collapsed again. Jessica sobbed quietly. Ozzy placed a hand over his heart too. Instinctively, deeply, and every biker nodded to him like he'd been born into their ranks. Tank spoke, voice deep as thunder and soft as prayer. From this day, Emma rides with us. Every road, every mile, every battle. She is ours and we are hers. A choir of engines rumbled low, not loud, not wild, protective, like iron angels keeping watch. A promise that will shape a lifetime. Ozzy leaned close to Emma and whispered, Grow strong, little angel. The world needs your fire. Jessica touched Ozzy's arm. She'll know. One day she'll know everything you did. Ozzy shook his head gently. Just tell her she was born powerful. Tell her she saved hearts before she could walk. Bulldog nodded, voice rough. We will. And she'll grow up loving music and knowing loyalty. Ozzy smiled. And trouble. She's got that in her DNA. Everyone laughed. A full soul-deep laughter, and above them, the sky blushed gold as if the heavens themselves were smiling at the scene. A tiny baby in a biker lot, surrounded by men who the world feared but who would die for her without question. The night ends, but the legend begins as the sun dipped low and the engines quieted again. Ozzy whispered to Sharon, I didn't just help a baby. I joined a family. Sharon squeezed his hand. And they joined ours. Bulldog lifted Emma one last time to the twilight sky and whispered, For every mile I ride, for every son I see, your life will be my purpose. A father's vow carved into the wind, a rock legend's heart, reborn a brotherhood forever marked by a little girl's strength, and a new legend beginning its first chapter, Emma, the angel who made devils cry. 6 weeks passed, 6 weeks of baby breaths, nurse check-ins, sleepless nights, and Bulldog pacing like a guard dog outside Emma's crib. 6 weeks of Jessica humming lullabies and Sharon bringing homemade soup and mother wisdom. 6 weeks of Ozzy calling every morning, every night. How's my little warrior? But today was different. Today was Emma's first big outing after recovery. Back to the Hells Angels clubhouse. The place where engines roar and loyalty lives in the walls like scripture. Not for danger. Not for noise. For love. The arrival Bulldog parked the SUV and lifted Emma gently. She wore a tiny pink beanie, tiny boots, and the pride of the club. Her mini Hells Angels vest embroidered with angel wings. Razor whistled low. She looks like she just bought the whole damn place. Tank slapped Bulldog's back. Kid's got more style than the rest of us combined, Ghost corrected him. Nah, she owns us. Difference. Jessica laughed softly, a tired laugh but grateful. Ozzy stepped out of his car carrying a guitar case in a small bag. Sharon followed with baby toys. Ozzy opened his arms. Where's my girl? Emma squeaked, a tiny baby sound but full of recognition. Bulldog placed her in Ozzy's arms. Emma stared up at him, fingers reaching toward his necklace. Ozzy melted. Look at you, little biker princess. Emma grabbed his chain and tugged. Razor burst out laughing. She's already taken his jewelry. Born rockstar behavior, Ozzy gasped playfully. Oi, that's solid silver, you tiny thief. Emma gurgled, and for the first time since her surgeries, she laughed. A real laugh. A bright, bubbling, angel-born laugh. The clubhouse went silent. Snake covered his face. Overwhelmed, Ghost crossed his arms to hide wet eyes. Bulldog froze, jaw shaking. Jessica pressed her hands to her mouth. Sobbing with joy, Ozzy just stared, stunned, then whispered, "Oh, sweetheart." That sound could fix the whole world. And every biker felt it. Like the rumble of engines on a long road, like the first breath after heartbreak, like redemption and baby laughter. Inside the clubhouse pool tables silent, whiskey bottles untouched. A banner stretched across the wall, hand-painted in biker handwriting, "Welcome home, Princess Emma, our strongest rider." Beside it hung a framed photo. Emma in the NICU, holding the wing charm in her palm. Jessica gasped when she saw it. Tank explained. "Every patch, every member. We prayed for her. She belongs here." Ozzy sat in a big leather chair in the unofficial president's throne, and Emma sat on his lap. Chewing her teddy bear ear, Ghost whispered to Razor, "If Ozzy ever wanted to join proper, we'd have to vote fast," Razor whispered back. "Vote? I'd tattoo his patch on my forehead." They didn't know Ozzy heard them, but he smiled quietly anyway. The lullaby recording Ozzy opened his guitar case. "I wrote something for her." Silence fell. Even the neon beer sign seemed to hum in respect. Ozzy plucked soft strings, softer than any stage, gentler than any concert. Sharon leaned on Bulldog's shoulder. Jessica held Emma's tiny hand. Every biker bowed their head without needing to be told. Ozzy began, "Little wings, little light, born to turn the dark to bright, tiny heart that learned to fight, little angel, take your flight." Emma stared at him wide-eyed. Then she laughed again, loud this time. Pure joy. Bulldog crumbled. Tank wiped his face like a man who swore he never would. Ozzy's voice shook. Not from age, but from love. When the last chord faded, Razor whispered, "Put that on vinyl and I'll buy 100 copies." Ghost mumbled, "Play it at my funeral. I'll come back just to thank you." Everyone laughed, the kind of laugh that comes only after long battles and longer prayers. Emma reached up and pressed her tiny palm against Ozzy's cheek. Ozzy froze. Whispered, "There it is again. The miracle." Bulldog whispered, "She loves you, brother." Ozzy smiled softly. "And I love her, more than the world will ever understand." The patch ceremony. Part 2. Tank stood, throat tight. Time for her colors. The room quieted. Tank held up a tiny leather patch, embroidered baby angel wings with a halo crown. Bulldog placed Emma on the table gently. Tank pinned the patch to her vest. Every biker placed a hand over heart. Tank spoke like a preacher. "Emma Rodriguez, survivor, fighter, angel of the road. Protected by all who ride and all who roar," the brothers echoed. "Always." Emma gurgled and slapped the table. Then, as if on cue, she farted loudly. Silence. Stunned faces. Then the room exploded with laughter. Razor dropped to his knees. Snake fell backward. Ghost slapped the wall, laughing. Sharon laughed until she cried. Jessica nearly collapsed from joy. Bulldog facepalmed. Ozzy wheezed, tears streaming. Tank wiped his eyes. And thus Emma earns her official biker title. He raised his beer. "Thunderbutt the Brave." The clubhouse roared, chanting, "Thunderbutt! Thunderbutt!" Emma smiled proudly as if she knew she'd just earned her first road name. And Ozzy whispered to Sharon, "She fits here. She was born for this madness." Sharon nodded, laughing. "That's how you know she's family." Nightfall. Engine guardians as the day ended. The angels rode in circles around the clubhouse. Slowly. Respectfully. Headlights glowing like halos. Ozzy carried Emma outside, holding her close to his chest. The engines hummed like lullabies, vibrations gentle. Protective, Emma fell asleep again, peaceful in the heartbeat of Harley engines. Bulldog kissed her tiny forehead. Jessica brushed her cheek. Ozzy closed his eyes, whispering, "Sleep easy, little angel. The whole world is watching over you." Tank spoke softly. "Tonight she doesn't just rest. Tonight she belongs, and under the glow of neon and chrome, beneath the roar of brotherhood and love, a legend learned to dream." If this story still holds your heart, do what this family would do. Subscribe to Voices of Darkness, like the video. Share to spread real love and loyalty. We are riding toward 1,000 family members. Every share fuels this journey. Prove your love. Time moved in gentle strides after that legendary clubhouse day. Seasons turned, Emma grew. Her laughter echoed in places built for roaring engines, not baby giggles. Yet somehow her sound fit perfectly like a miracle patched into leather. 6 months had passed. And today wasn't just any day. It was the day Emma would take her first steps, not in a soft suburban living room, but in the Hells Angels clubhouse on concrete worn by boots, tears, and years of brotherhood, a place where legends stood. And now a little girl would stand too. Returning to the iron sanctuary, it was late afternoon. Sunbeams fell through the clubhouse windows like golden smoke trails, dust dancing lazily in the quiet air. Bulldog carried Emma inside. Now 8 months old, hair like soft gold threads, cheeks round and rosy, eyes bright like she knew she'd survived thunder and walked through the fire. Jessica carried her diaper bag and her courage. Though she didn't always feel strong, her baby made her look like steel wrapped in softness. Ozzy and Sharon arrived behind them, arm in arm. Ozzy walked slower these days, not from age, but from gratitude heavy enough to humble a king. Emma squealed when she saw him and reached her little arms out, fingers opening and closing like tiny grabbing claws. Ozzy chuckled, voice full. There she is, the queen of our castle, Ghost called out from the sofa. Correction, queen of the entire road, Razor added. She owns more hearts than a Vegas card shark, Tank smirked. And she don't even need a bike yet, Emma babbled back as if she understood every word. And maybe she did. Little souls know loyalty before language. Practice on Daddy's boots, Bulldog placed. Emma on her little feet. She grabbed his jeans like they were handrails made for heroes. Jessica leaned in, whispering encouragement. Emma wobbled, 1 step forward, 1 backward, weight shifting like she was testing the earth, testing fate. Ozzy crouched like a holy witness, 1 hand over his heart. Take your time, princess. Emma babbled again, then lifted 1 foot, tiny, brave, and placed it down. Ghost gasped. Snake choked on his drink. Razor froze mid-breath. Bulldog whispered fiercely, You got this, sunshine. Show the world. Emma lifted her other foot, unsteady, but determined. A 2nd step, then a 3rd. Arms out like wings. Heart thundering like a Harley engine in miniature. Emma took 5 steps. Small, wobbly, beautiful, then fell gently into Ozzy's arms. He scooped her up like he was holding the universe. Oh, sweetheart. You just walked into history. Emma laughed, bright, victorious, her voice louder than engines, truer than prayers. The clubhouse roars tank lifted his beer. To Emma, our smallest rider and our biggest miracle. Engines revved outside and a low rolling thunder, not celebration, reverence. Bulldog cried without hiding it this time. Jessica pressed her hand to her heart, whispering thanks to every star in existence. Emma clapped her hands, proud of herself, proud of the world that loved her. Snake wiped his eyes dramatically. Well, that's it. We can all retire. Greatest moment of our lives just happened, Razor sniffed. I didn't even cry when I got my patch. But this got me, Ghost nodded solemnly. Her first steps weren't on carpet. They were on biker concrete. That's the definition of destiny right there. A tiny Harley surprise Sharon nudged Ozzy. Should we? Ozzy grinned like a kid hiding a firecracker. He walked outside, opened the SUV trunk, and rolled something out. A miniature electric Harley, black chrome trim, leather seat, with soft LED lights, custom painted on the side. Emma, angel on wheels. The clubhouse erupted. Tank doubled over laughing. Oh hell, she's gonna rule kindergarten like a mafia boss. Bulldog stared at it, stunned. Brother, this is insane, Ozzy shrugged, wiping a tear. Love makes you ridiculous. Happily ridiculous, Jessica hugged Sharon. We don't deserve this, Sharon whispered back. You do. Every ounce. Emma slapped the tiny handlebars like she knew exactly what to do with them. Ozzy chuckled. Born rider. Ghost whispered, God help the boys in her future, Razor smirked. God help the cops in her future. Tank corrected, God help everyone. Emma pressed the button accidentally. The tiny bike revved with a baby-level vroom. She squealed, the good kind. The clubhouse melted. A Rock Legends promise. Emma sat on Ozzy's lap on the tiny Harley. The club watched in awe, like they were witnessing prophecy unfold. Ozzy leaned close and whispered to her, "You ever need something? A friend, a voice, a shield? I'll be there." "You hear me, princess?" Emma grabbed his nose. Ozzy laughed. "That works too." Sharon kissed Emma's cheek. Bulldog put his hand over Ozzy's shoulder, voice thick. "You didn't just help my daughter live. You helped her believe," Jessica added softly. "You helped us believe too." Ozzy swallowed hard, voice trembling. "She helped me believe again." Silence fell, not heavy, but sacred, because everyone knew the truth. Emma didn't just learn to walk. She taught grown men how to stand again. Nightfall. Baby's first ride, as dusk painted the sky violet. The angels rolled out their bikes in a circle. Tank spoke gently. If she took her first steps today, she should hear her first ride tonight. Bulldog sat on his bike, cradling Emma gently against his chest, ear protectors on her tiny head, her hand gripping her teddy bear. Engines roared to life, not loud, but deep, like thunder whispering blessings. Emma didn't flinch. She smiled, a baby smiling in a thunderstorm of engines. Miracle answering roar with joy. The convoy rode slow around the clubhouse, a ceremonial lap, headlights glowing like halos around asphalt. Saints Ozzy and Sharon watched, arms around each other. Ozzy whispered, "That little girl isn't just walking. She's marching into destiny," Sharon whispered back. "And the world better be ready." The engine slowed to stillness. The baby giggled again, and every biker realized something. They didn't protect Emma. Emma protected hope. Fuel the ride if this chapter touched your soul. Subscribe to Voices of Darkness, share with someone who still believes in loyalty and miracles. We ride toward 1,000 loyal souls. Prove your love.